In our headlines on this Monday, March 9th, here in South Korea, Iranian state media says the second son of former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Mojtaba Khamenei, has been named successor. Here in Seoul, President Je-hyuk calls for price caps on oil products to stabilize energy costs amid the impact of the unrest in the Middle East. And the local stock market loses substantial ground while its currency weakens further against the US dollar, trading at over 1,495 won per greenback. We start our newscast in Iran today, where Mojtaba Khamenei has been named the new leader. Now, the event follows an earlier U.S. warning that the next Iranian leader needs its approval. Our Kim Do-yeon has the latest.
Iran's Assembly of Experts has named Mojtaba Khamenei as the country's new supreme leader, cementing hardline control in Tehran as the conflict with the United States and Israel intensifies. The widely expected move was officially announced just after midnight Monday in Tehran. The 88-member clerical body appointed Mojtaba to succeed his father, Ali Khamenei, who was killed over a week ago.
The esteemed members of the Assembly of Experts appoint and introduce Ayatollah Sayyid Mojtaba Khamenei, may God preserve him, as the third leader of the sacred system of the Islamic Republic of Iran.
As a mid-ranking cleric with deep ties to Iran's security apparatus and extensive business networks, the new Ayatollah holds the absolute final say on all state matters in the Islamic Republic. Anticipating the appointment, United States President Donald Trump issued a preemptive warning on Sunday. Speaking to ABC News before the official announcement, Trump stated that any new Iranian leader must receive U.S. approval or risk being swiftly removed. He has also called Khamenei a lightweight when reports arose about the appointment. The ongoing conflict continues to result in casualties on multiple fronts. U.S. Central Command announced the death of a 7th American service member. The individual succumbed to injuries sustained during an Iranian attack on U.S. troops in Saudi Arabia on March 1st. Meanwhile, the Sharan oil depot in Tehran continues to burn following Israeli strikes on fuel facilities over the weekend. Iran's oil distribution company reported the deaths of 4 employees and announced temporary fuel rationing. The Iranian Foreign Ministry condemned the strikes as a war crime, accusing Israel of releasing toxic substances into civilian areas. The Israeli military stated the depots are legal military targets used to store and produce propellant for ballistic missiles, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowing to continue the assault without mercy. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Here in the local front, President Je-hyuk presided over an emergency meeting earlier on this Monday morning to assess the economic impact of the ongoing unrest in the Middle East. Our correspondent Yoon Jung-min covers that meeting.
Devising preemptive measures that can cover worst-case scenarios with a sense of urgency. That was President Lee Jae-myung at an emergency meeting of economy-related officials on Monday, which was organized as the conflict in the Middle East continues to pose risks on the local and global economies.
필요한 경우에는 100조 원 규모로 마련되어 있는 시장 안정 프로그램을 적극적으로 확대하고 정부와 중앙은행 차원의 추가 조치도 선제적으로 준비해야 되겠습니다.
President Lee once again called for strong measures against price collusion related to oil products and mentioned the need to stabilize prices.
최근에 과도하게 인상된 석유 제품에 대해서는 최고 가격 제도를 신속하게 도입하고 정유사와 주유소의 담합, 또 매점 매석, 사재기 등 불법 행위는 철저하게 단속하고 위반할 경우 그로 인해서 생길 이익의 몇 배에 해당되는 엄정한 제재를 가할 필요가 있습니다.
Noting that the country is highly dependent on energy imports, Lee called for the need to look for alternative measures to bring down energy costs and ease the burden on the lives of the people.
전략적 협력 국가들과 공조해서 호르무즈 해협을 경유하지 않는 대체 공급선을 신속하게 발굴하면 좋겠습니다.
The meeting was attended by officials in charge of finance, industry, and energy, among others.
The Industry Ministry will expedite related administrative actions so the price cap can be imposed within this week. The President also ordered officials to review expanding fuel tax cuts and directly providing support to consumers.
Tackling the economic challenges will be the single most visited topic this week, with the president urging the officials to turn the crisis into an opportunity. On top of that, President Lee is looking to reform the economic system in a more fundamental way. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
And as mentioned, the global oil market appears most vulnerable to the volatility in the Middle East, with prices soaring. Our Jin has details.
The conflict in the Middle East has effectively closed off the Strait of Hormuz, disrupting supply routes for the roughly 20% of global oil exports that pass through this narrow passageway from the Persian Gulf to the Indian Ocean and beyond. Global oil prices surged past $100 a barrel on Monday. Global benchmark prices climbed sharply, with West Texas Intermediate jumping about 15% to $107.54 per barrel as of 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time, the first time since July 2022 that it has traded above $100. Brent crude also rose, briefly reaching as high as $111 a barrel. Market watchers warn that oil prices could keep rising, with Goldman Sachs saying oil could reach $150 a barrel by the end of the month if flows are not restored. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump said Sunday in a post on Truth Social that such short-term price rises were a very small price to pay for safety and peace, noting that prices would drop rapidly once the nuclear threat in Iran is destroyed. However, Trump is mindful of economic concerns as it remains a priority for voters, which could be directly reflected in the midterm elections. The Treasury Department has said it will soon release plans to mitigate the rising energy costs. In South Korea, gasoline prices continue to creep up closer to the 2,000 mark. According to the Oil Price Information Network, as of 9 a.m. Monday Korea Standard Time, the average price nationwide was approximately 1,897.7 won, or roughly $1.27 per liter. Diesel prices are currently higher, with the average price rising 2.3 won from the previous day to 1,920.1 won. On Monday, during a meeting between oil refinery representatives and the related authorities, Industry Minister Kim Jong-un called for the implementation of transparent and fair petroleum pricing, saying that the burden caused by the situation in the Middle East should not be passed on to consumers unilaterally nor excessively. He also warned that any attempts to take advantage of rising international oil prices in a way that undermines efforts to stabilize the people's livelihoods will be met with grave responses. This comes as President Lee Je-hyuk urged the government to crack down on collusion between refiners and gas stations, price fixing, and hoarding, calling for strict punishment of violators. He called for authorities to swiftly implement a cap on domestic gasoline and diesel prices. Jin, Arirang News.
Staying with the ripple effects of the events in the Middle East, the local stock market lost substantial ground today, while the local currency weakened further against the US dollar. Our correspondent Kim Jun-hong has the latest numbers.
South Korea's benchmark Kospi closed sharply lower Monday, plunging about 6% to 5,251.87. The index slid right after the opening bell, triggering a sell-side sidecar. Losses later deepened past 8%, setting off a circuit breaker that halted trading for 20 minutes. The halt came just 3 trading days after the last circuit breaker on Wednesday. The Kosdaq also stayed under pressure, with a sell-side sidecar briefly activated during the session. The Korean won also weakened sharply, closing at 1,495.5 won against the US dollar, up about 19 won from the previous session. That marked its highest intraday level since the global financial crisis in 2009. The spike comes as global oil prices surge on escalating tensions in the Middle East, adding pressure across financial and currency markets. The sharp swings have raised questions over how long the instability could persist and how markets may respond in the coming days.
If the currency rises too sharply or volatility becomes excessive, there could be room for authorities to step in. The stock market is currently experiencing significant volatility due to the war. But sharp fluctuations after a shock usually ease over time, a pattern known as clustering, where the initial impact is strongest and gradually fades.
Earlier in the day, the Bank of Korea held a task force meeting to review the Middle East situation. It said geopolitical risks are driving excessive volatility in interest rates and the Korean won, and pledged to take stabilization measures if necessary. Kim Junong, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, a chartered flight brought back South Korean nationals who had been stranded in the UAE amid the conflict in the Middle East. Our Je-hyuk covers their return.
A chartered flight has brought home hundreds of South Koreans stranded in the United Arab Emirates as tensions continue in the Middle East. According to Seoul's Foreign Ministry, an Etihad Airways chartered plane carrying 203 South Korean nationals and 3 foreign spouses departed from Abu Dhabi on Sunday and arrived at Incheon International Airport early Monday morning.
Morning and evening, we heard loud booms from missiles being intercepted, so going about our daily lives was very scary. When I got on the flight, I was so happy. I thought, now I can finally go home.
The evacuation comes as South Korea moves to assist roughly 3,000 nationals who have been stranded in the UAE due to widespread flight disruptions following U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran last month. The deteriorating security situation in the region had led to temporary suspensions and delays in commercial flights. Government officials say about 1,500 South Koreans have now left the UAE, including those on the chartered flight, as air travel to and from the country gradually resumes. To support the evacuation effort, the Foreign Ministry dispatched a joint rapid response team to the UAE. The South Korean embassy there began accepting applications from citizens wishing to board the chartered flight this past weekend. Meanwhile, Seoul has also strengthened travel advisories for several Middle Eastern countries amid the ongoing instability. The Foreign Ministry raised its warning level for Bahrain, the UAE, Oman, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan to a level 3 travel alert, which strongly advises South Korean nationals to leave those countries. The alert took effect Sunday, replacing a special travel advisory put in place earlier. Officials say the stricter warning will apply to all areas of Bahrain, the UAE, Oman, Qatar, and Kuwait, as authorities continue to monitor the security situation and prepare further measures to assist Korean nationals in the region if necessary. 이승재, Arirang News.
And President Je-hyuk has thanked Singapore and Turkmenistan for their help in evacuating South Korean nationals from the Middle East. According to the Blue House, the words of gratitude were relayed separately to the president's counterparts in the two countries. Turkmenistan opened its doors to 25 South Koreans and their 4 Iranian family members last week, while Singapore allowed 4 Koreans in Oman to board its chartered flights this past weekend. A National Assembly Special Committee has advanced a bill supporting South Korea's planned $350 billion investment in the U.S. The Special Committee approved the bill unanimously. The bill paves the path for a dedicated investment corporation and a risk management committee to oversee projects in sectors such as shipbuilding and semiconductors. The bill heads to the Parliament's plenary session this coming Thursday for final passage. And South Korea today began excavating the remains of South Korean soldiers killed during the Korean War. The excavation involves 34 sites across 22 cities and counties nationwide, including Paju, Yeoncheon, which were major battlegrounds. Now, this year, the Defense Ministry aims to retrieve 200 remains, secure 10,000 gene samples from bereaved family members, and disclose the identities of 20 fallen soldiers. The ministry will also seek joint international efforts, such as an excavation project with Australia and the mutual return of remains with the US. North Korea's Kim Jong-un marked International Women's Day this past Sunday at a related performance in Pyongyang. According to the regime's state media, on this Monday, Kim was accompanied by his wife Ri Sol-chu and daughter Chue, who were seated between her parents. In a speech also at the event, Kim praised the role of women in North Korean society, deeming their strength and self-sacrifice as forces that advanced the regime and its agenda. Also seated in the front row were several prominent women in Pyongyang's leadership, including Foreign Minister Choi Sun-hee, Kim Jong-un's sister Kim Yo-jong, and veteran state TV presenter Lee Chun-hee. At the 2026 Winter Paralympics in Italy, Team Korea garnered gold in the biathlon and a bronze in snowboarding. Our correspondent Park Gun-woo has the highlights.
South Korea's Kim Eun-ji topped the podium in the women's sitting para-biathlon in Italy on Sunday, making her the country's first female to win a Winter Paralympic gold. It's also Korea's first gold won overseas, with the country's only previous gold coming at the 2018 Pyeongchang Games.
I'm overjoyed to have won the gold medal sooner than I expected. I'm also incredibly happy that Korean women's para-snow sports have finally earned a medal.
In the 12.5-kilometer event combining cross-country skiing and shooting, Kim finished in just over 38 minutes, beating the second-place finisher by more than 12 seconds and 36 seconds ahead of third place. Athletes had to complete 4 shooting rounds with 5 shots in each round, with every miss adding 1 minute to their race time. In the para-snowboard event also on Sunday, South Korea's Je-hyuk claimed the bronze medal in his second Paralympic appearance, marking the country's first ever medal in the sport. Among the 4 finalists, Yi finished third behind athletes from Italy and Australia. Yi, who began his career as a non-para snowboarder, finally stood on the Paralympic podium after falling short at the Beijing Olympics 4 years ago. The achievements of both athletes were praised by President Lee Jae-myung, who said on social media that their efforts and passion in overcoming physical limits had finally paid off. With the 2 medals won on Sunday, Team Korea has already attained its goal of securing at least 1 gold and 1 bronze within the first 2 days of the 10-day event. More medal chances remain, with Kim Eun-ji and Je-hyuk both scheduled to compete in additional events, as well as other athletes. And with the country's best result coming at the Pyeongchang Games with 1 gold and 2 bronzes, attention is now turning to whether Team Korea can make new history. Park Gun-woo, Arirang News.
Back on the local front, morning raves are gaining traction here in Seoul as residents seek to reclaim their weekend mornings and to better connect with their community. Our Chung Hae-rim was there.
It's 9 a.m. on a Saturday. While the rest of the city is just waking up, this space is already filled with contagious energy. Let's take a look here at a morning rave in Seoul. This is the Seoul Morning Coffee Club, a community built around Seoul's growing morning culture, hosting group runs and coffee chats. At a rave SMCC hosted from 7 to 10 a.m. at a hotel rooftop bar in central Seoul, participants dance, chat, and some just vibe with the music. Instead of cocktails or soju, the bar serves fresh juice, coffee, and non-caffeinated drinks, offering a space to connect without the influence of alcohol. The concept mirrors a growing global trend, with similar morning dance events popping up in cities like London and Amsterdam.
Since there are so many people I don't know, I wondered if I could really enjoy myself without drinking. But now that I'm here, the atmosphere is great. Dancing and meeting people give me a lot of positive energy.
Yeah, I mean, I went both in the nightlife and in the morning life, so it's really different, but at the same time it's also nice to wake up early and make friends in a different environment, so I like it.
The atmosphere is relaxed and respectful, without the usual chaos of a night out, just people enjoying the music and each other's company. Club founder Park Jae-hyun says in what many describe as a hyper-individualized society, this community provides a remedy for isolation, allowing people to form healthy bonds through shared activity rather than late-night drinking.
I'm a morning person, and because of that, I realized Korea doesn't have a lot of morning activities. I started by searching for cafes that open early and meeting people there. It turned into this huge community, and people seem to find comfort and feel less lonely through these morning interactions.
People always say they wish weekends were longer. If you choose to go out in the morning, it'll only be 10 a.m. when you get back home.
Korea was once dubbed as the land of the morning calm, but it's a different story for youngsters. For a growing number of young people, mornings are anything but calm. 정혜림, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. In Norway, Oslo police are investigating a deliberate explosion early on Sunday morning that targeted the United States Embassy. A backpack containing an incendiary device exploded outside the U.S. Embassy in Oslo at 1 a.m. Sunday. The blast damaged the building's entrance but caused no injuries. Oslo police confirmed that investigators are treating the incident as a targeted attack. Authorities have not raised the national terror level, but the Norwegian Police Security Service has deployed additional personnel to secure the capital. The U.S. State Department has launched its own investigation alongside Norwegian authorities to investigate the matter. President Donald Trump on Sunday has issued a legislative ultimatum, vowing to withhold his signature from all future bills until Congress passes a strict new voting law. The Republican-backed Save America Act requires voters to provide proof of citizenship and imposes criminal penalties on election officials who fail to verify documentation. Trump said he wants it passed immediately, hoping to have the law in place ahead of the November midterm elections. The House passed the measure in February, but it faces a certain filibuster from Senate Democrats. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer warned that the president's stance will cause total gridlock in Washington. Women across the globe took to the streets on Sunday to mark the 115th International Women's Day. The global event serves as both a celebration of female achievement and a high-stakes call to action for fundamental human rights. The United Nations officially recognized the holiday in 1977, and it now stands as an official public holiday in over 20 countries. Under the 2026 theme, Give to Gain, activists shifted their focus toward challenging systematic discrimination and securing justice for victims of gender-based violence. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
We have some hazy early spring weather in the capital area with a high level of ultrafine dust, while the Gyeongsang-do provinces in Jeju saw dust levels rising in the afternoon. And tomorrow looks like being as dusty as today. Meanwhile, the east coast of Gangwon-do province and parts of Gyeongsang-do will see rain through tonight, with mountainous regions of Gangwon-do province seeing up to 5 centimeters of snowfall. And tomorrow morning will be colder, but highs will be higher, hovering right around the seasonal norms. And even southern regions will see sub-zero temperatures with frost in inland regions. Daegu and Gwangju will begin the day at -1 degree Celsius. Then by the afternoon, Seoul gets up to 9 degrees. Daejeon and Gwangju will be topping out at 11 degrees Celsius under sunnier skies. We'll continue to see large temperature swings of around 10 to 15 degrees throughout this week. With that in mind, here's a look at the international weather conditions.
Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. As always, thank you for watching.